Hi, and welcome. I'm Pastor Randall Neal at Zion Lutheran Church, and today is Tuesday, November 10th, and we are taking time from our schedules today to just share a few insights, a few thoughts, a few personal observations that I have about relationships that we have with God and with our family. Sometimes children become very effective psychologists without ever taking a day of psychology class. They learn to push mom and dad's buttons really well, right? They learn to play mom and dad against each other, to guilt trip their parents. I wonder where they learned that one from, by the way. They learn to pout. Oh my goodness. All kinds of methods of getting their way. Fortunately, most of us parents gradually develop, some later than earlier, but some develop an immunity to being manipulated by our kids. But I got to tell you, there's one thing my kids would say to me that grabbed my heart and wouldn't let go, and almost always worked. It was those times that they just said, "But Dad, you promised." Ooh, man, those words were convincing words, convicting words. If I had promised, I just had to do everything within my power to keep my promise. Now, far more significant than any promises we might make to one another, even to our children, are the promises we've made to God. Now, this very day, my friends, God is trying to get the attention of one of his children who's listening right now. And he's saying gently but firmly, "You promised." But tell me if it's true here. You've either forgotten what you promised or you've been running from what you promised. But I think you get what I mean. Well, my thoughts for this day for you and me is today would be a good day to remember what you've promised God and to recommit yourself to what you promised. Maybe it was a long time ago. I want you to listen to these stirring words from Psalm 66, verses 13 through 14. The psalmist writes, "I shall come in your house with burnt offerings. I shall pay you my vows, which my lips uttered, and my mouth spoke when I was in distress." Well, that's thousands of years ago, but the point is still valid today, isn't it? Often when we make our promises to God is a long time ago when we are, quote, in distress. Maybe you're in financial distress, or maybe you made God those promises, or you were facing a medical crisis, or perhaps a family crisis. Maybe you promised God if he would spare your life and give you a mate, or give you a child, or meet a need that only God could meet, that you would do X, Y, Z. Well, God had your attention then, didn't he? And you realized that there were things that needed to be difficult in your life. A life, by the way, that his son Jesus died to save. And you made promises then, promises about your giving to his work, promises about a change in your priorities, or maybe about some sin that you were going to abandon. Do you remember? Promises about serving him with your life, or about changing the way you were living. It was a crunch time promise, but it was a promise you meant, didn't you? And it was a promise you needed to make, wasn't it? But perhaps something happened. Maybe you've forgotten what you promised, but my friends, God didn't. Maybe you got past the pain and you forgot or disregarded your promise. God didn't. So today, my friends, your Lord is coming to you with a very important reminder, and it's straight from heaven. Listen to him. "My child," he's talking to you and me, "you promised." Ooh, frankly, until you give God what you said you'd give him, what you should give him, your life just isn't going to work as it should. Not that you can't make it through, but it might be a little rocky. The end of a lot of guilt, the end of a lot of frustration, the end of a lot of wasted years will come when you say to your Lord with the psalmist of old, "I shall pay you my vows, which my mouth spoke when I was in distress." It actually says that. The Bible is saying it's better not to promise than to promise and not pay. Well, my friend, the return to the promise that you've made maybe is not kept in the beginning of fulfilling God's destiny for your life and experiencing His peace and His joy and His pleasure that you want. Because remember, you promised, and it was God you promised, and what you promised was right. It's a time to keep your promise to that one who has kept every one of His promises to you and me. Something to think about. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I look forward to our next time together. Until then, may the Lord be with you and bless you.